Dead Island 2 is releasing on the 21st of April, and of course we'll be getting a brand new story with that game since of course, well, it is a story game, and I thought it would be a good idea to go over things that you need to know before you play the story of Dead Island 2, and that is to know the story of Dead Island 1. So in this video we'll be going over the story of Dead Island 1 and what we know so far about the story of Dead Island 2 and what we can expect from that. So let's get straight into the video and waste no more time. Now, the original Dead Island game was developed by Techland and published by Deep Silver for the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 and PC, and released all the way back on the 6th of September in 2011. And then in 2016, on May 31st, it was actually remastered for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and was also remastered for PC as well. This was the Dead Island Definitive Edition, and this is an open world game centered on surviving on a zombie infested Banoi island. The game uses a first person perspective, however the developers are claiming that the game should not be labelled as a first person shooter since it has a bigger emphasis on melee combat and ammunition conservation rather than just being a shoot 'em up. Now, Dead Island runs on Techland's in-house Chrome Engine 5, the same which powers Call of Juarez, the cartel video game. Now, the island of Banoi is just off the coast of Papua New Guinea. It's a wild and untamed paradise virtually untouched by modern civilizations, from the lush rainforests to the mountain highlands to the white sandy beaches. Banoi is considered the pearl in the necklace of the Oceania archipelago. For many, it is heaven on earth, a place of peace and pristine beauty where travellers can leave the worries and cares of the workday world behind. But something evil has arrived in paradise, spreading chaos, madness and even death. Heaven has become hell, and for those who still cling to life, there is only one thing left to do, and that is of course survive. And now we'll go over the main plot of Dead Island 1. So the game begins with the opening cutscene following an unnamed drunken guest as he stumbles around the hotel on his way to Sam B's party. On the way, he meets the playable heroes of the game in order of Logan Carter, Sam B, Perna Jackson and Zian May. After passing out in his room, we are taken to one of the rooms of the heroes, who also made their way to their rooms after the party. Upon awakening, the heroes find the hotel deserted and overrun by strange people, the infected. They manage to escape a group of them while being guided by a voice via the hotel speaker system before being completely knocked out by a zombie. They awaken in a beach hut with a group of survivors, and after helping defend the hut from zombies, they assist the survivors moving to the more secure lifeguard tower. From here, they assist the survivors by getting supplies, gas, food and drinks to sustain them, as well as a more powerful radio receiver to try and reach a voice who has been contacting them via the radio. However, it's not enough, and they will eventually need to go to the main city on the island to find more food, the city of Moresby. To this end, they return to the hotel, and with the assistance of a security guard, they manage to make their way to the hotel parking garage and recover an armoured truck. After escaping the hotel with it, they take it to a mechanic to be armoured up to be an unstoppable tank. After defending the workshop, the mechanic makes them promise to take his daughter Jin with them to protect her, as he's been bitten and will soon turn. After finally agreeing, they will leave with Jin to travel to Moresby. Upon arrival, they follow church bells to reach a church of survivors that are under attack by zombies. After finally killing those zombies and getting through to the church, they aid the survivors by turning on their water supply, which was cut off when a group of punks took over the pump station. After taking it back and closing open hydrants, they are informed by the kindly leader of the church, Mother Helen, that they have no supplies they can spare, but if they take the sewers to the rich side of Moresby, they may find more food, since the bridge was blown to try and stem the infection. After lowering the water levels of the sewers and traversing them, they manage to reach the town hall, where the mayor informs them that they also can't provide any food, as they need it all for themselves. Almost giving up, Jin persuades them to keep on, and one of the members of the town hall tells them to try the nearby supermarket. It has been taken over by looters, but it has tons of food and supplies left in it. Travelling through the sewers again, they reach the supermarket, and after fighting through the large gang of looters, they reach the storeroom and take as much as they possibly can. With Jin taking it in the truck, the heroes travel back to the town hall via the sewers to find it overrun by zombies. Leaving it behind, they return to the church, where Mother Helen informs them that Jin has been captured trying to supply the the police station, which has been taken over by a cutthroat rascal gang. Despite being told not to, she went there anyway, and the heroes have to rescue her. After fighting through the thugs, they reach her and take her back to the church. With her now in tow, they supply the church and lifeguard tower before returning to the hotel, where two of the members of the lifeguard tower went to try and use the more powerful radio mounted on the hotel roof to contact the voice. They eventually get through and learn that the voice is actually Ryder White, a colonel in the Banoi Island Defense Force. He tells them that he's on the prison island in the middle of the bay. Despite their skepticism of his promise of rescue, the heroes finally agree to follow his directions to travel into the Minjendi jungle, inland, to search for a man named Moen, who can take them to the laboratory in the jungle which can make a cure for the infection, which White desperately wants to save his infected wife. With the help of someone at the lifeguard tower, the heroes go with Jin through a network of old Japanese World War II bunkers to reach the jungle. They travel to a village which has been raided by a dangerous warlord named Afran. The leader of the village, Matutero, knows of Moen but won't take them until the heroes help him and the village. After recovering their stolen weapons, Matutero informs them that they'll need a boat to reach Moen, but Afran took it. After raiding Afran's base and killing him, they recover the boat and Matutero delivers on his promise and takes them to Moen, who reluctantly agrees to take them to the laboratory. Upon arriving at the lab, the heroes set about helping the scientists there, restoring power, securing a food supply, and bringing them research items so they can continue to work on a cure. After recovering a blood sample from some natives nearby who are immune to the infection, the head scientist, Dr. Robert West, tells them that he'll need a tissue sample from one of the native mummies. Going with the native leader and witch doctor, the heroes go to the tomb of natives and save a native girl named Yurima, killing Ope in the process. They return to the boat and save Moen, who was under attack by zombies. Taking Yurima to the lab, Moen is thankful to the heroes for saving his life at the tomb of natives and finally reveals that he knows a way to reach the prison land, which was the other reason the heroes had to find him, as without him they couldn't navigate the sea minefield that's around the high security prison. Leaving Yurima with Dr. West, the heroes go with Moen back to Moresby to get a bribe for one of the prisoners, Titus Kabi, so he'll let them in, as well as more gas for the boat. From here they briefly go to the resort to collect some poles to push away any mines which get close before Ryder White contacts them on the radio, hurriedly explaining that he heard screams at the lab. They return to the lab to find it overrun and all the scientists completely dead. Luckily, Yurima survived due to being locked in a cage, and a cure is safely in a fridge. Taking the cure and Yurima, they all make their way to the prison. After being let in by the prisoners, they strike a deal with Titus to let them through to cell block C, where White is. After helping get food for the prisoners and falling to get weapons for them as well, they are doing another task for Titus when White contacts them on a radio and tells them a different way to him, through the prison's sewers. Taking his route, they emerge in the prison showers, where they find Jin and Yurima, who tell them that a riot happened in the canteen when some prisoners rose up against Titus. This caused zombies to attack and wipe out the prisoners in the canteen. With no choice, they take an elevator to White, where they are gassed unconscious. Awakening to one of the prisoners, a man named Kevin, he informs them that White gassed them and stole the cure. However, they can still catch him before he makes it to a helicopter on the roof. To speed them up, he also reveals that White plans to nuke the island to wipe out the undead, as well as any survivors with it. Making their way through the highly overrun but faster prison hospital, they manage to catch up to White on the roof. After fighting through his soldiers and zombies, they find the colonel on a helipad with his undead wife in tow, who is now completely turned. Keeping them under gunpoint, he tells them that he has plans to give the cure to scientists in Australia who can mass produce a vaccine. However, Jin releases the colonel's wife, who bites him, forcing him to shoot her. In anger, he also shoots Jin, who falls off the roof to her death before injecting himself with the vaccine. However, it has the opposite effect and turns him into a mutated monster, forcing the heroes to battle and finally kill him. Kelvin flies them all the way in the helicopter towards a naval fleet offshore, while a news program plays in the background reporting on the outbreak on Banoi. So there you go, that is the entire Dead Island 1 story, and that's pretty much everything that you need to know about Dead Island 1 before you play Dead Island 2. But now let's quickly go over everything we know about the story of Dead Island 2. So first of all, let's quickly talk about the setting of Dead Island 2. Now the setting of Dead Island 2 is a very blood-soaked Los Angeles. Dan Buster will let us explore some of the most iconic locations of the city, from the suburbia of Beverly Hills to the sun-drenched promenade of Venice Beach and beyond. Naturally, all of LA is positively teeming with zombies and weapons, so the city is proving itself to be a natural battleground for this game, and it of course is going to be a co-op game as well, so you will be able to play with friends, and you will also actually not just be able to play with one friend, but you'll be able to play in groups of 3, so be able to invite 2 friends to play the entire game with you. So pretty cool that there will be co-op as part of this game. So in terms of the story, we know there are going to be 6 characters. Now I have actually done a video doing complete analysis of the 6 characters. I'll link it in the description at the end of this video, but these 6 characters are Carla, Danny, Ryan, Amy, Jacob and Bruno. They are all 6 playable protagonists within the game. So the story is set either a couple months or a couple years after the story of Dead Island 1. We don't know specifically, but we do know it is after the story of Dead Island 1, but yeah, in between a couple of months and a couple of years. So the story starts on an evacuation plane, which is rescuing you on a band of fellow survivors from the otherwise condemned, overridden streets of LA. However, when your plane crashes, you're forced to fend for yourself and pick your way through the wreckage. Your character then gets bitten during an altercation with a zombie, but when you find that you don't change into one yourself, you realize that you must be immune to the virus that turns other people into those monsters. You need to find a way to gather fellow survivors and carve a path through the abandoned city in order to contact the government and get your whole crew rescued. So there we go, that's basically a sort of brief summary of the plot of Dead Island 2. And the game is of course going to be releasing on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, the next generation consoles and PC on the 21st of April. And that does just about wrap up things here. Now, like I mentioned, I've done a complete analysis of the characters in Dead Island 2. If you're interested in watching that, then a link to that video is on the screen now, and you can go ahead and join me over there.